as to what's going on at the federal level, this is one way you can really do something that provides so much support for those who do a job that most of us can't or won't do. Okay, I didn't mean to start the show off like that, but I know that I just have to address it because both of those things, the work that Mark Doyle does and the loss of Captain David Meyer, I'm feeling my feels today. I was going through, like I said, a lot of photo albums. A lot of stuff came up throughout my life, and I sent pictures of my friend Susie, who I mentioned dated David Meyer when we were kids, and I was sending her photos of us when we were, we've known each other since we were 6 years old. I messaged Sue when I had heard the story. I said, my brain immediately went to you, and she had heard from other people because we were really kids. Like when I used to hang out and throw the ball against the wall or whatever on the playground. But I was laughing because again, I was born in 1971, and our hairstyles. Me and Susie had like feathered bangs, and my hair was permed, and there were a couple photos where I had like the hair sprayed lacquer, had my Aquanet. I'm sure you could smell the Aquanet looking at the photos of us from, high school and on. And I was thinking about, my husband and I were talking about, now that Dick Durbin is see how I can wrap this all together. I can move on to the news of the day, pull it all together. But Dick Durbin, who has announced that he will not be seeking re-election, the names that came out, almost all of them. I think somebody mentioned Rahm Emanuel, and then there's Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratford, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, State Senator Robert Peters, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, and I was thinking about that, and the women of color. I want so badly for people to still be able to, like Democrats in particular, not go, well, Kamala didn't do well, so now we're not sure if women of color are going to. That's how. But I've been in these rooms, Lady B. I have been in these rooms where that's why Gavin Newsom and Rahm Emanuel are talking the way they are, basically running away from the ideals of what we stand for, and regardless of how someone's qualified, they're going to go to what the numbers are, what money we can raise. And somebody asked me, do you think that a woman of color can win? And I was like, the first senator in the history of this country was voted by Illinoisans, Carol Moseley Braun. So it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. As you may have heard earlier, Senator Dick Durbin has announced he will not seek re-election. So let the races begin, I guess, because everyone's going to be throwing their hat into this one. And I do think, this is another conversation I was having with somebody, there's this thing that happens where when I don't have to tell you like hypothetically, or I've heard, when I ran for office, you have to tell people as soon as possible. I know some people play games, or they'll say I'm having an exploratory, we're doing research, we're dipping our toe in the water, those kinds of things. What happens is, often, and in my situation, is that the first person who seeks someone's endorsement is the one that gets it. Like I had these meetings with folks, and they were like, "Oh, I already endorsed so and so," and I'm like, "But you didn't even." The announcement for the vacancy didn't even happen yet. Like, so people even before they get the word that there's going to be a vacancy, all these things behind closed doors, deals are made like that. So it'll be interesting to see who gets these, the endorsements, because I did not know. It's just me, and maybe I'm misremembering how I've voted in the past. Like, endorsements were always kind of background noise to me. And look, primaries for Democrats, they're driven by the Democratic Party of Illinois. So they're going to get whoever the Democratic Party of Illinois decides they're going to get behind, then gets the full weight of financial support, of physical support in the terms of people campaigning for them. It's money and energy. And so I'm curious to see, and I know other folks have been mentioned as well, including Alexi Giannoulias, Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias, and some other folks. Who have you guys heard? What other names who would you like to see? I think that's the other thing is, of course, all these folks are throwing their hats in the ring, but who would you like to see? Who's the top of mind for you? Either someone who's on the list or someone who you think should give it a shot. Let me get to Jim on the phone. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Patti. As long as Project 2025 is rejecting 6 white children for every family. I suggest they get vaccinated. I just saw an article where 25% of them are reluctant to get vaccinated, and I can see polio. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
Come back.
Well, and I passed. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. I was going to say. I would turn my mic off. You go, Jim.
Yeah, but anyway, no, I passed the Presbyterian grade school. I go to the library, and one of the ladies were taking her child, and I said, I hope you. I didn't say it with any attitude. I just said, I hope she's vaccinated for measles.
Right.
And she's she's vaccinated. But I mean, think of it. She's going. These are adolescent kids before kindergarten.
Yeah.
And if they're not vaccinated, God help us. That's all I can say. Why are they so reluctant to get vaccinated? That's my question.
Well, there's a lot of different reasons, right? So, and I feel like people don't remember that there were a lot of shows about. So when my son was born in 2005, that was when I started hearing, or even a little bit before that, I started hearing a lot of information about how the trimerisol, the mercury in vaccinations, all these different elements.
Oh,
I know, and it even scared me. Like when Declan was born, I was like, oh, should he have him? He wasn't breathing when he was like. I didn't know that Declan had an anatomical location for his autism. Like, and part of my brain for a long time was like, was I wrong? I mean, so there's so much coming at you. Oprah Winfrey platformed like Jenny McCarthy and her stories about how she believed that vaccinations caused autism. WCPT had Robert RFK Jr. talking about Marisol. Is it Ring of Fire was the name of the sort of liberal religious show? Right. And I remember hearing that. And when I knew that was just not what I believed and what science showed, I stopped listening to that show because I was like, I can't listen to somebody who's scaring people away from science, from the truth.
I know. And what kills me is people go on the internet to diagnose themselves. How many people have got a terrible diagnosis, where they looked it up and they think they've got this symptom or that symptom, and they don't know what the heck they're really looking at.
Can I tell you something?
You can imagine. Yeah, go ahead. You can imagine anything, Patty. You know what I mean? Our minds can imagine anything. But
one time my mom wasn't feeling well, and she Googled her symptoms, and she goes, Patricia, I Googled my symptoms last night, and it looked like I was having a stroke, but I thought, I have the dishes to do in the morning. I don't have time. So yeah, don't Google your symptoms.
Yeah, good idea.
Take care.
Anyway, Patty.
Thanks,
Patty.
Thank you so much. I want to thank our sponsors for making these conversations possible, including Source Solar, Minocqua Brewing Company, and The Way Back In, who we're going to talk to in the 6 o'clock hour. More in a moment on WCPT and KKNW 1150 in Seattle.
Tonight on Democracy Now!
Martin O'Malley, the former head of the Social Security Administration's issued a dire warning that Social Security could collapse due to sweeping cuts by the Trump administration. O'Malley will join us to talk about why he fears millions of Social Security recipients could soon lose their benefits, or rather see them interrupted.
All those stories and more tonight at 10 on WCPT 820.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out. But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hal Sparks will kick things off at 11 a.m., then hand it off to WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patti Vasquez, and Scott Duff at 1 o'clock. Surprise guests from WCPT's 20-year history will also join us. Scroll through 20 years of WCPT Radio with legendary interviews, shows, and pictures on the WCPT 820 website. WCPT's live broadcast is sponsored by Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, Kane County Dems, Southland Friends of Labor, Democratic Party of McHenry County, and McHenry County Democratic Women. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary live broadcast Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's only progressive talk radio station for 20 years.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
I hope that you are all happy, healthy, and safe wherever you're tuning in from today. Perhaps you're listening to one of our podcasts, which are all available wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also go to heartlandsignal.com. All the shows that we air here, all the live broadcasts are also available as podcasts. They're available on Spotify, Apple, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Just search for this show. You can go to search for Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, or get the links on my show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on my picture. The latest additions to our page include John Fugelsang, who was on last night, and we'll talk about his event coming up this Saturday, because we do have another streaming code to give away. We also talked to Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi, and we want to make sure that you get a chance to look at all of those conversations. Not look at them. We can look at them, because you can look at this conversation, because you can go to Facebook and watch the live stream where you see me posing. Hi, that's my little emotional support dumpster fire. Thank you so much for the gift, by the way, once again. And I also want to remind folks that we've got a lot of great, special moments coming up with our event coming up at the Max and Benny's, and coming up tomorrow. I'm going to say coming up as many times as I can. Is that coming up okay? I got repetitive there. I'm in my feels, folks. Ken Mejia Beal is going to be joining us tomorrow, and we'll be talking to Jenny Maurer, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Head Start Association, because they closed the regional office for Head Start, which actually was out of Chicago, serving 6 states altogether, because why not put somebody from the wrestling world in charge of the Department of Education? Well, we know why. What's up at Dave in Hoffman Estates? What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, Patty. First, sorry for your friend from your childhood there.
Thank you.
And the chief. I was telling Lady B, I was reading where U.S. Army has suspended a Wisconsin training base's first female commander after discovering portraits of President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had been flipped around to face a wall.
That's it? They were just flipped around to face a wall?
It says right here that the Army has posted an updated statement on Fort McCoy's website saying Colonel Sheila Baez Ramirez has been suspended as the base's garrison commander. The statement said the suspension isn't related to any misconduct, but provided no other details, saying the matter was under review. In other words, because we can, and because you're a woman, and because you're Hispanic, you know?
Well, it says so. The Defense Department is investigating the social media of our enlisted. And if I was in the military right now, unfortunately, you got to lock that stuff down, because they're coming for you. And I know a few people that are in the military that would fall under some of the very draconian policies that they're trying to impose, and I worry for them. I do think that the people I know are trying to be as discreet, but I don't know how far. I mean, they can go into your past information, right? So I don't know how much you can even lock. How much of that is already, our men and women in the military should be able to express themselves, right? As long as it's not impacting their jobs or putting anyone in danger. Flipping up a photo around seems like, So and where was the photo? Like in her office? Is she like required to have their pictures in her office?
That it doesn't show right here in this beginning thing that if it was. Just said that it was flipped around and face a wall along the photos, showing that they had been flipped back to face the corridor. So it might have been, a hallway or something in the.
Well, And the article I'm reading just says the photographs and social media show a leadership board at Fort McCoy that just didn't include pictures of the president, vice president, and the defense secretary. And a bunch of social. So it was people reporting on that board saying, hey, shouldn't they be on that? Right. So it's not, it's just that they're missing from a leadership board. But the Army officials are saying they're not connecting those missing photos to her removal. And those are ubiquitous on military installations at any rate.
Yeah, like I said, because we can.
Yeah.
It all rolls downhill. But I just thought you might find that interesting because, like, when I've spoken with Joan, and like Joan said, that a lot of them that been getting it, she notices that it's been either women or people of color, or both.
Well, yeah, but it also seems as though the Defense Department is allowing, online, social media, Sherlocks, to go out there and just do whatever, like say whatever they want and cast aspersions on somebody who's serving. And I'm guessing a lot of those people either don't, or if they do, they don't like having women in the military. I don't know, Dave.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, they ousted her from it, but her boss, Hegseth, I mean, he's sitting there blabbing, like I say, like head of hopper,
Wow, that's a deep cut. Hedda Hopper. I don't think anybody younger than us knows who Hedda Hopper is. Do you?
Oh, well. Anyway, I just thought you might find that of interest.
I think Gen X is going to be the youngest that knows who Hedda Hopper is, unless somebody likes classic movies. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right. Be well.
You too. So so some folks are excited that the stock market rebounded. I just don't. Did he say that? Did he now say that the tariffs are too high? Who came up with that? I don't. Like the madness in this administration is it's like head spinning isn't even the right way to put it, but there's so much going on that I it's really kind of hard to grab onto one story. Oh, by the way, someone texted in regards to Senator Durbin's announcement that he would not be seeking re-election. They said, "Run, Patty, run." I love my job here. So what would happen in that kind of situation for anything I would be interested in running for, because I've been approached for other things and had conversations with my family, with the folks here at WCPT, with my bosses for my daytime job, and everyone's supportive. Also, I would not be able to do this job anymore. And you know what? I really love having these conversations. I mean, unless you want me to go away, I don't want to. I think perhaps someday we'll pursue that. Right now, I love what I do during the day, supporting people who provide services across the state in the healthcare and human services. People who need it the most. Our elderly, our disabled populations, a lot of people who rely on childcare. Those are the way I work is I research what's going on across the state. Right now, my priorities are finding out how different organizations are being impacted by the cuts at the federal level, which, as you can imagine, is a lot to track down, and trying to measure how quickly these cuts are impacting people directly. So Now, I'm trying to understand what the point is of saying we're just gonna walk away from negotiations with Russia and Ukraine. Like Rubio's whole thing of like, we're gonna give it a day or two, and if we don't like the way this is turning out, if they won't cede any territory, I'll never understand how we're supposed to be with Russia and say, yeah, you know what, they invaded you, they killed a lot of people, they've been kidnapping kids, but if you could just give them a little land, we'll make it stop. Does anyone really believe that if Zelensky negotiates with Putin and gives up some territory, that Putin's going to stop with that? Because it means it worked. It means that attacking, invading, being ruthless, and then being able to get a fellow wannabe dictator on your side is, why would he stop at some of the territory of Ukraine? It doesn't make any sense. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation when we come back. Again, we've got a lot to cover. I know coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to talk to our our friends from the way back in. And coming up at 5:45, we're going to talk to an artist that I'm sort of sad. I always love to support local businesses, local artists. And this is the weirdest thing. I found somebody on Nextdoor. Like, I get alerts sometimes in Nextdoor, and it's usually like, who's this guy on my front porch? But I discovered a young artist who is moving to England, and I'm wondering if maybe she can be our voice across the pond. Let's take a break here and continue when we come back on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a low temperature of 51 degrees with southeast winds at 5 to 15 miles an hour. On Thursday, sunshine with a high temperature of 63 and northeast winds at 5 to 10. Friday, showers and storms are likely with a high temperature of 64. Saturday, sunny with a high of 52. Sunday, sunshine with a high temperature of 62 degrees. Monday, showers with a high of 79. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 77.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Dive deeper into the heart of the news and stories at WCPT 820 and across the Midwest by checking out our website, heartlandsignal.com.
It's the coverage I can count on every time.
For the latest news updates, in-depth analysis, compelling stories, comprehensive election coverage, live streams, and thought-provoking opinions, head to heartlandsignal.com.
When I need to know, they're there.
They keep me informed and updated wherever I am.
Stay informed with WCPT 820, your go-to source for where facts matter.
Advertisement sponsored by Allied Injury Group, not available in all states. This important message from Allied Injury Group reminds you that if you or someone you love was injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, you deserve financial compensation for your medical expenses, lost wages, pain, and suffering. Don't rely on insurance companies to look out for you. If you haven't spoken to an attorney, call our legal experts now. Work accident, truck accident, collision with an uninsured driver, or a slip and fall. Allied Injury Group has helped clients win hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. They're available 24/7 to take your call and fight for you. Remember, if you or someone you love suffered injuries in an accident that wasn't your fault, like being struck by a drunk driver, a collision with an 18-wheeler, were a victim of workplace negligence or more, get the financial compensation you deserve. Call Allied Injury Group for a free consultation now.
Call 800-818-2581. That's 800-818-2581. Again, 800-818-2581.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
We need to speak out about this.
At 773-763-9278.
Hello.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
You didn't realize how often you say something until you realize one of your coworkers grabs it and goes, oh, she says it a lot. Hello. Paul in Seattle. Hey, my friend, what's on your mind?
Hey, Patty, remember we used to have this troll that used to call it and was all Putin-esque about Ukraine and said, well, Putin can't have NATO on their doorstep, right?
Right.
Well, okay, wait a minute, though. If Putin takes Ukraine, then he's on NATO's doorstep because there's 4 NATO countries that border Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. Is that if you're going to give him a little, then he knows. I mean, it's not even if you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. He's going to take the whole Eastern Europe.
Well, and then the other thing is this.
I think we're losing you. Oh, we did lose you. We lost him completely. I was all patient and everything. I was like, so apparently, I do. There's so much news that happens so fast that I lose track, or I don't catch every single thing. And how can you? And I can't react to every single thing. So he is now, the president is saying that unless Ukraine agrees to the terms, they're going to walk away, but did not give Trump any. They didn't strong arm them. They're not making any demands of Russia. Just whatever Russia wants is what they apparently want to give him. Tell me that he's not an asset of Russia. The other thing I want to talk about, I want to go back to the Department of Education. I know that there are folks. My husband's one of the people that has been paying his student loans for a very long time. I married him taking that as part of the deal. And he has more than paid off the debt and is continuing to pay off the interest. And I know that there's this idea of like, well, I did it. Why can't they do it? First of all, college has increased so much since many of us were in school in the 80s, 90s, the early aughts. I mean, it has accelerated at a pace where when people are going to school, there was a woman who went to law school. She racked up $247,000 worth of debt. And with the understanding, so there are different programs where if you commit to working for a certain portion of maybe communities that are disadvantaged, or you work for, certain disenfranchised organizations that need the legal help, they'll help you pay off your loans. And hers was related to public service with the government, and they eliminated that after she finished her law degree and is now on the hook for over almost $250,000. And what they're going to do now, starting May 5th, they're going to there are 5 million borrowers who are currently in default because they have rescinded the Biden forgiveness program. And so now they are all in default. And starting May 5th, they're going to resume involuntary collections, which means they can garnish your wages. This is the kind of thing. What is happening? Oh my God. Yeah. So they're going to start involuntary collection starting on May 5th because, there's nothing like making America great than taking paychecks away from people who are just trying to make ends meet is pretty much what we're talking about here. At any rate, the other element is that the story of another individual who has been disappeared. Now, this one out of Detroit, this young man who had just driven the wrong way, had crossed the border into Canada. And apparently a lot of people get turned around in this area. And now people haven't heard from him. They don't know where. Apparently he's been taken to El Salvador. And the United States government, last I've heard, we haven't been able to find him. Because what? Okay. And everybody who says, well, due process. I'm so tired of hearing or reading. If they didn't want due process when they came here, they don't deserve due process now. And there's a lot of things wrong with that. First of all, what do you think due process means is my question. And secondly, that's not at all what the Constitution says. They're awfully well versed. Although, to be fair, they do cherry pick when it comes to things like the Second Amendment, right? The parts where it says well-regulated militia means absolutely nothing. But when it's very clear, no person, there is nothing that says American citizens are entitled to due process. It's every person is entitled to due process. Oh man, if they take away the paychecks, then what is the incentive to go to work at all? Here's another thing. I had no idea how pervasive, and I guess it's social media shows you how ugly and nasty people can be. Because I posted about a week ago, in reaction to the tariffs and China saying, "All right, well we're gonna double down too," and everybody that is all for these tariffs were like, oh, that's okay. We'll just make phones and shoes here. No, we won't, because we don't have the manufacturing, and we already have almost 500,000 jobs in manufacturing that are unfilled. So I posted that there are over 480,000 some jobs that are unfilled. And by 2030, they estimate that there's going to be 1.9 million people that are needed for a lot of these jobs. And that's before bringing more manufacturing back to the United States. And folks are like, well, if we just end welfare, if we just stop paying people to be lazy, as though that's the entire element to this. Oh my God, I can't with folks. Let's see what some of the other texts are here. We've got let's see. Dave forgot to mention a new book called Fight by Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnas. They mentioned that the de facto campaign manager, now White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, they mentioned that her father was a legendary football announcer, Pat Summerall. She's very tough. Years ago at her dad's alcohol abuse intervention, he read a letter from her that described her embarrassment at sharing his last name, and Summerall got sober. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Dave. I was not familiar with. I did not know that. Interesting story. So, at any rate, let's get to Roosevelt in Chicago. Hey, Roosevelt, what's on your mind, my friend?
Patty, thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely.
You know, a couple of things struck me through the course of the day. I don't know who mentioned it. I think it was a Tom show, and that is, how can you give a sentence, a lifetime sentence, because it hasn't been determined? Everybody that has gone to El Salvador, they all get the same sentence?
Yeah, no one gets freed, right?
Yeah, so how can you give somebody a sentence for coming to the United States without papers, but yet, you know, January 6th, when J.D. Vance, I know it doesn't make sense, what I'm going to say right now makes sense, but J.D. Vance said, we're going to take it case by case. Remember, prior to Trump taking the 1,500 people that he pardoned, J.D. Vance had come out and said a week before, something to that effect, he had said, we're going to take it case by case, because one of the things that the Trump supporters say is, well, actually, a lot of people say, is that not everybody that went there to break and steal and do and cause havoc inside inside where the senators were, and where the congressmen were. So they didn't get due process either. What Trump did is he put a blanket pardon to all of them, no matter what the crime that they committed or the gravity of the crime.
Right.
So
I know.
So this is done before, meaning he took a blanket. He does in both cases, both examples, only one. He pardoned criminals, and now he's putting people that, like you said, hadn't had due process, or we don't know what the charges are, and we don't know what the charges are for the 1,500 either, because he takes out like Enrique Terrio. He was one of the leaders, and he got pardoned too, along with everybody else. So there was no case by case when it came down to the J6. So
yep,
you know, it all, to me, you know, again, back to what I said before. How can you give all these young men a lifetime of crime for coming through the country? Supposedly they're all criminals, according to press secretary and according to what's her name, the purse lady that lost her purse. So my point is that, you know, and it's an infraction to come to this country, not.
It's a misdemeanor, correct? Yep,
misdemeanor.
It is.
It's like blowing a stop sign or blowing a red light. So it's ridiculous what's going on in this country, but
Roosevelt, we can't possibly be in the same criminal category as people who come here without documentation or, you know, what they call the right way. And here, by the way, when people say, you know, well, we want people here who come here the right way, and then we see with student visas being revoked, those students came here the right way, right? How do you see? I know I'm asking a question that we all know the answer to. The difference being, what do they look like? Where do they come from? Who are we afraid of? Who do we not want? Yep.
And let me take it a step beyond. I'm not going to take too long. What about this $5 million gold card? What about that? Where is that money going to go to? Yeah, what about that? What about all these deals that he's doing? Where's all this money going? Where's it? You see what I'm saying? The guy at the top, what I mean by that is Trump. He's doing business from the White House. Look at all that,
of course. NFTs, yeah, absolutely.
So So, it's all ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And nobody on the Republican side, of course, that's because of the guy we got as speaker, is useless. He's worthless because he doesn't say no to anything that Trump does.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you for venting, Roosevelt. It's good to hear from you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. Let me take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to Ruth Pycke, a local artist who has a gallery showing coming up in early May that I want you to know about before she leaves for England. I just found her. How can she leave? More in a moment on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150 in Seattle.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Dry January and sober October. They are 2 months of the year when a lot of people try and go without alcohol. But for anyone out there who needs to hear this, you obviously don't have to wait for either of those months to give it a go. Maybe you try around your birthday, or maybe today. I'm not saying everyone needs to cut out alcohol entirely, but just about all of us would benefit from cutting back. And you can do that by setting SMART goals, meaning be specific with your plan, make it measurable. How many drinks are you going to cut? You want your goal to be achievable. Don't jam your calendar with social events where it's going to be more difficult to avoid alcohol. Make your goal relevant. How will not drinking make your life better? Finally, your goal should be time-based, meaning how long are you going to do it for? You can always build on your success. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Spring into deals with fresh savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Stay Green or Premium 2 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 35% off select major appliances and save $50 on every $500 you spend on select LG appliances. Shop in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/30. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details or qualifying items. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. As many of you know, I'm a complete dork for all things Chicago. If you watch the live stream, once in a while you'll see that almost every single purse that I own has the Chicago flag on it. And one evening I was I got an email alert from Nextdoor. I don't know if you guys have Nextdoor. I don't really follow it that much. It's usually like, who's this strange person on my porch? And it's usually like somebody door knocking for a candidate or something. But this one, I saw that there was an art gallery showing coming up for an artist, a local artist and then I was like, oh, I'm curious about this local artist who has an event coming up in my neck of the woods. And then I looked at her Instagram. I'm like, I want to talk to this person and buy one of her pieces of art. Ruth Pycke joined us on the line. Hey, Ruth, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. So I want to get to know you a little bit before we talk about your work. Where did you grow up?
Really all over the place. I was born in Florida, but I moved to Massachusetts, Oregon, California, back to Florida, and then ended up in Chicago, Illinois.
What brought you to Chicago?
Just wanted a fresh start, really. I wanted to find something that I was really interested in, just kind of expand career-wise.
Well, I was really struck by the work that you do. And are you, what disciplines, did you study art in high school, in college? What led you to this journey of being an artist?
Well, I feel like art has always been the one thing I've really excelled at.
Okay.
Even in school, art was just my thing. It was always my thing. So I always knew that I wanted to eventually do something as an artist, but I never, in my wildest dreams, would have thought at that age during high school that I would have been a full-time artist at one point in my life.
And I mean, and a lot of people, like as a parent, for me, my son, wants to go into the arts, and I'm like, well, do something that you can make a living at, and maybe as a hobby. What was your kind of approach to this, and how did your family react with your passions and your path?
Always kind of scary for a parent to think, kind of like say, oh yeah, my child's going to go like in the art career, because, it's kind of like you never know what's going to happen, like it's not really a stable, it's not really stable when it comes to like money. So I think it's good to like have a backup, it's good to have like other things you're interested in. But my family's always been really supportive. My mom is like one of my biggest fans. She's always supporting me.
That's wonderful, and that makes a big difference too, knowing that you've got a cheerleader in your corner. And what are the artwork that I bought? I bought a print of the Chicago skyline, as I mentioned. I'm a huge dork for Chicago. I loved the elements of it. What do you find yourself being drawn to? Does it move with you depending on your place in life and where you are? What strikes you as far as the seasons or the imagery in front of you?
Yeah, so most of my work they're actually collaborations with local photographers. And something that I love is to just like look through Instagram and try to find some like photographers that I'm interested in their work, and I'll ask them, may I please use your photography to make a painting? And so really just like inspiration from other local artists. And then I look for bright, beautiful colors. I look for like different perspectives on the city that maybe people haven't seen before. So all of those things really inspire me.
So the piece that I purchased, because it's an aerial shot, sort of, it's south and a little bit west, because I was a lifeguard at North Avenue Beach. So you have it like sort of off to the elements of that landscape of North Avenue Beach is in that painting. That's why I love it so much, because I love this. The city gives me the chills. It just does. I fall in love with it. What are some of it seems as though you do as well, so many different parts of our city. Talk to us a little bit about what that's like, discovering places that maybe you see through your lens and that of the photographers that you work with.
Yeah. So I'm really drawn to places in the city that you can either see the river or the lake. I love water scenes. I love anything that has to do with like public transportation as well. Anything that you can really get the feel for like the busyness of the city, but also some people don't always really see how the city can be calm and beautiful as well. So that's why I kind of like the water scenes too.
Yeah,
gorgeous. Yeah, all of those things that I think really focus on the city in different ways that maybe people wouldn't always think of.
And you also do bring in elements of what's going on, whether it's nationally or because I know that you have with the Ukraine, the flags of Ukraine, and people holding up signs that say I stand up with Ukraine. That was also something that drew me to you, was wanting to capture these moments in history too, right?
Yes. Yeah. That picture was actually taken by one of my photographer friends. His name is Ken, and he was right in the midst of that picture going on downtown, and it was such a great shot of like people just wanting to support Ukraine and just here locally in Chicago, and I thought that was really beautiful. So yeah, I wanted to paint that. It was really inspiring.
And I want to make sure folks know about your gallery. Now you're you're leaving us. I find you and then you're going away, and I am going to have to be okay with that. But I might want to see. I might want to talk to you from England, but the time difference might be a little bit rough for you. But tell folks before you go. I want folks to appreciate the work that you've done and one of your last gallery showings here before you do move. Tell us about this event coming up.
So I have 3 final shows, and the opening night is May 2nd, and that's going to be at Aponte Art Gallery, my friend Janice Aponte, and it's at 5504 West Lawrence Avenue, and basically I'm going to have all of my artwork on display, everything I have left, priced to sell, so it can find a home and make somebody else's house beautiful.
Yeah, I'm working on where to put your artwork, and I look forward to seeing what you have at this showing, because you folks can follow Ruth Pycke at Ruth Ann Fine Art. That's Ruth Ann Fine Art on Instagram. Is there other places you'd like folks to follow you or to stay up to date on the work that you do? And maybe we're ordering things to be shipped from England. We don't know.
Yeah, so I have a website, and it's ruthannfineart.com, and you can find all of my pieces on there as well. And I do offer also free delivery to people who are local.
It's going to be harder for us to get it shipped from England, though, because I also I love England as well. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to like the work that you do there, and to see what inspires you from there. And if there are things going on politically, I might reach out and see what's going on in England and what the take is. Are you a little bit nervous about? Are you going to say you're from Canada, that you're not from the United States?
No, I think people are really curious when I go over there. I get a lot of stares because of my accent, but I also just have people interested in where I'm from and why I'm there. Well, I'm moving because I was in a long distance relationship for a long time, and now we're married, and so we're just ready to start our lives together. So that's the main reason I'm moving there.
All right, fine. You can go if that's what you're going to do. I know when I met your boys, they seemed very excited to go on this new adventure in your life. So we look forward to touching base with you. Everyone, go to RuthAnnFineArt.com. I think if you love, it's not just the images of Chicago that I love. You do such fantastic work, and I look forward to seeing what the future brings and the beautiful work that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely, and I will see you at your event. Again, remind folks, is the event available for information on your website too?
Yes, it's on my website under the events section, and you can also find it on Instagram. I have a link in my bio that you can click, and it'll take you to all 3 of the nights.
Outstanding. Well, I'll see you at the gallery. Again, it's the Goodbye Chicago, a final show and farewell. All her art must go at the Aponte Art Gallery, 5504 West Lawrence Avenue, beginning on Friday, May 2nd. Wonderful to talk to you, and we will talk again. As long as you're okay with that.
Yes, of course. Anytime.
Excellent. Be well. Have a great night.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Seriously, I love her work. Lady B, I got to show you this stuff. I've already got one in my dining room. Just really beautiful stuff. Let's take a break here, and we'll continue our conversation. We're going to talk to our friends from the Way Back In, and I look forward to having this conversation. I know that for a lot of folks, you're like, why are you talking about gambling a lot? Because we've learned a lot over the years about other addictions, and this is one that I think that goes misunderstood. Because there's a different cultural aspect to it that I think that we ignore. So let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation when we come back. Our number is 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. You can call or text. And if you have any questions for our guest coming up, we would love to hear from you. And Tom Appel will be here at 6:30. Today's Wednesday, yes? Tom Appel will be here at 6:30, our car guy, Tom. More in a moment on WCPT and KKNW.
WCPT Replay.
Think about this. Both capitalism and democracy could be viewed as like a game, like a football game. And imagine if the NFL were to say, oh, we've got too many regulations, and just suspend them all. The only team that would win under those circumstances would be the one willing to play dirty or buy off the refs. And increasingly, that's where we are today, both with our democracy and our economy. We know this is crazy. Every state in the union has an insurance commissioner because for decades, for a half a century or longer, insurance companies just routinely rip people off. And finally, every state said enough. Same thing with banks and brokerages. We regulate them because the last two times we deregulated them in the 1920s and the 1990s, it produced the Republican Great Depression of the 1930s and the Bush crash of 2008. We regulate workplace safety because the Triangle Shirtwaist fire killed 146 young women.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Steel, walk behind, zero turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Thousands lining up to pay their final respects to Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica. Ed Donahue has our report.
Francis's open wooden casket is perched on the main altar at St. Peter's. Swiss guards stand at attention. In the first 8 hours, more than 19,000 people passed by, including Chris Queen from Ireland.
Very moving experience to see him so vulnerable after so long, being so unwell. A real pleasure and privilege to be there.
It took hours to reach the casket. Some people held their cell phones in the air as they got closer to get pictures. Cardinals, including Italy's Fernando Filoni, met in private to finalize details of the Pope's funeral and plan the conclave to elect a successor.
We have to wait to pray and to have our meetings, and then afterwards we decide.
What do you expect from the next Pope?
I don't know.
Irish-born American Cardinal Kevin Farrell is running the Vatican until a new Pope is elected. I'm Ed Donahue.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's ruled out ceding territory to Russia, including Crimea, as part of any peace deal, saying there is nothing to talk about, it's our land. President Trump's blasting him for it, accusing Zelensky of prolonging the killing field. Earlier, Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters,
"We've issued a very explicit proposal to both the Russians and the Ukrainians, and it's time for them to either say yes or for the United States to walk away from this process."
India is blaming Pakistan for a militant attack that killed 26 people in Indian-held Kashmir yesterday. In the Middle East, France, Germany, and Britain are calling Israel's 7-week blockade on all imports to Gaza intolerable. Meantime, Israel's latest offensive continues with an overnight strike on a shelter in Gaza City, killing 23. Markets rallied worldwide after President Trump softened his tough talk on tariffs and the Fed. The Dow added 420 points to 1.1%. The S&P rose 1.7%. The Nasdaq 2.5%. This is AP News. Julie Walker has the latest on a wildfire in New Jersey.
A fast-moving wildfire engulfing parts of New Jersey's Pine Barrens has not resulted in any injuries, and evacuation orders were lifted, but officials expect it to grow before forecast rain later this week. State DEP Commissioner Sean LaTourette says as of Wednesday morning, the wildfire stands at about 11,500 acres and 30% containment.
We fully expect that number will grow.
And he adds,
this could very well end up being the largest wildfire in New Jersey in 20 years.
Audio courtesy WPVI, and because the fire reached the Garden State Parkway, part of it had to be shut down, but it's now reopened. I'm Julie Walker.
And scientists are reporting a global coral bleaching event has grown to include 84% of the ocean's reefs, the worst on record. I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a low temperature of 51 degrees with southeast winds at 5 to 15 miles an hour. On Thursday, sunshine with a high temperature of 63 and northeast winds at 5 to 10. Friday, showers and storms are likely with a high temperature of 64. Saturday, sunny with a high of 52. Sunday, sunshine with a high temperature of 62 degrees. Monday, showers with a high of 79. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 79.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Thursday, April 24th at 5:30 p.m., DePaul University presents the 2025 Chinatown Hall, featuring 2 talks. At 5:30, watch a national webinar panel discussion, The First 100 Days, President Trump's China Policy, with experts from the Brookings Institution and the Wall Street Journal. Then at 6:30, Dr. Anthony Kane will lead a local discussion, Friend or Foe, Chinese Influence in the 21st Century. The event is free and open to the public. Join by Zoom or in person at 2322 North Kenmore Avenue in Chicago. Monday, April 28th at 6 p.m., Harriet's Daughters presents a live panel discussion, Where Do We Go From Here?, about the state of our democracy. Panelists include Nicole Hannah-Jones, the Pulitzer Prize-winning creator of the 1619 Project. Get your tickets at harrietsdaughters.org.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you are happy, healthy, and safe wherever you're tuning in from. And we want to thank our sponsors for making these conversations possible. Of course, we want to thank our friends from Source Solar. Go to source.solar and learn about the great work that they do there. On May 13th, I will be broadcasting from Madison at the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room there. And I also want to say hello to our friends listening on KKNW in Seattle, Washington, as well as our friends listening on 950 a.m. on KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, tuning in. Of course, we're broadcasting here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. And one of our other sponsors joining us in studio, our friends from the way back in, joining us. And we've talked in the past to our friend Anita. Anita Pinduir joins us again. Hey, Anita.
Hello.
Thank you for coming back and not being scared off by all my questions and personal stories. And joining us as well today is Dr. Celeste Napier, who is a professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Rush University. She's also the director for the Research and Education Center for Compulsive Behavior and Addiction. And was Anita telling you about how scary it can be to be on my show?
I'm looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to having you as well. And now, since we last saw you, Anita, I know that you guys have had a lot of great programs in March. You had a lot of great artwork that was contributed and submitted. Did we end up with all the winners and announcing?
We did. So the announcements haven't happened yet. Okay. We are saving the announcements, and everybody's welcome. So June 5th and 6th, and on June 6th for lunch, we will make the grand unveiling at the Illinois Council on Problem Gambling 2-day conference. And so I'll send you all the information so you can post it on your website. But more information is available on either icpg.org or areyoureallywinning.com.
Excellent.
And everybody can come and see, and then we'll have everything available online for viewing.
Oh, I was gonna ask too. Is can we check out what folks have submitted? Yeah. Now, Doctor, I was wondering, Dr. Napier. So tell folks a little bit about the "Are You Really Winning" campaign, because I know folks are kind of hearing it more prominently this year than they have. We've heard not just on my show, but I've heard on a lot of different stations. So tell us a little bit about this campaign.
Well, if I may, I'm going to toss that ball back to Anita. Because she's really in charge of this excellent program. It's very exciting, and as someone who is very interested in addiction education and also translating science to the community, I think this is a brilliant approach, and I'd like her to sort of spend more time with the details.
Well, thank you. So as you know, it's kind of just that whole public awareness of making sure that everyone in Illinois is aware of the resources, of the help, the science, the symptoms, the science behind gambling use disorders. So we want to make sure that everybody is aware of what it is, what it can be, as well as if I think I have a problem, how do I get help? Or if I think I might have a problem, how do I find out if I have a problem? And so a majority of that is available on the website, areyoureallywinning.com, or calling 1-800-GAMBLER. But we do a lot of also events with the Illinois Council on Problem Gambling. One of those, Dr. Napiera just had a conference in March for many professionals. Another one's coming up Thursday, and then again the one in June. And we want to make sure that everybody in the state is educated and well aware of what is and how it happens. But we wanted to have Dr. Napiera here today so she can tell you a little bit more about what actually happens in your brain and why is it that this happens.
Well, and I also wanted to, before we get to the science of it too, because we've talked, people have talked for years, and we've gotten more comfortable talking about, drinking addictions, alcoholism, drug addictions, and even for a while, people were talking about sex addictions, right? But gambling, because of it's for fundraisers or it's what families do. I think that it's so important, and I'm so grateful that you guys are making this a prominent campaign for folks. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's what we really want to do, right? Make it that name brand, make it that conversation, make it one of those conversations you're having at the dinner table, with students, with kids, your kids going off to college, have that conversation. We hear so many people while they're in college, returning from college, saying, I didn't think this could be a problem. I didn't even think about it. And parents just saying we played bingo, we did card games, right? Maybe we went to the horse tracks together, but we never thought it could be a problem. And so just making people aware of what it is. And we don't want to scare anyone. Majority of people have the ability to gamble responsibly, but there is age limits. There are developments with the brain. We want to make sure that everybody's aware of it and just open up that conversation. And if you do think somebody's struggling, how do you open up that conversation and allow them to have this ability to get help? Sometimes we just need to make that tough decision and say, hey, I think you might have a problem. Let me help you.
Absolutely. So let's get into the science of it. So from that perspective, how can a gambling addiction begin, Dr. Napier?
Well, I think it's important to sort of think about gambling addiction sort of in the same arena that we're comfortable now, I believe, in thinking about substance use disorders and drug addictions, because gambling addiction, like these other forms of addictions, actually develops when someone repeatedly engages in that activity, in the gambling activity. And what happens is the brain is learning. It's learning about what gambling is all about, and it remembers the good feelings that are associated with that activity. So all forms then of learning and memory, just like learning to remember the good feelings of gambling, involve changes in brain chemistry and structure. And we know that with repeated gambling, the changes that take place in the brain involve those brain regions that are involved with emotions. That's the feeling good part. And these brain-related brain changes and memories can be quite profound, actually. And the desire to gamble may become so compelling that one may then feel they have to gamble just to feel normal. So we also know that trying to stop gambling can then produce anxiety and depression and a lot of uncomfortable feelings that is sort of indicative of a withdrawal-like syndrome, right? So this profile of the sort of brain and behavioral changes, science tells us that's what's associated with developing problem gambling or its extreme addiction to gambling.
I don't think I've heard of it quite that way. We kind of understand that, people start to rely on whatever it is that they're addicted to. We don't necessarily think of it as the brain learning and then seeking those sensations out. So tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the brain during an addiction, and maybe describe the brain behavior of an addict, of addictions.
Sure. And I think the way you stated that was really lovely, because it is important to recognize that during these activities, we're actually hijacking the very same brain processes that we use to remember and to learn. And hopefully our listeners are learning something today, and these same synaptic plasticity processes are ongoing. And that's what happens when we learn to associate different addiction-like activities with feeling good. And so the way you said that, I think, is really nice. But what's really important to recognize here, I think, is that, of course, the building blocks of the brain are cells called neurons. And some neurons are responsible for interpreting environmental sensations like seeing and smelling and hearing. And then there's an additional set of neurons that translate that information into how we feel about that environment, right? So neurons that translate the how we feel about gambling-related sensations involve those that we just talked about that are profoundly changed by repeated exposure to gambling. So the connections among these neuronal systems then are strengthened as they learn, and they get very efficient at communicating. So the message that they communicate then can include an intense need to gamble, this newly formed intensity to engage in that activity. And this message then can override normal communication among neurons that are typically used to make healthy choices. So science tells us that the result of these newly formed neuronal imbalances is what compels the individual to choose to gamble, even if they're aware that more healthy choices would be in their best interests, and it's driven by changes in your brain.
And that's so hard because so many people get angry at a family member, like, why can't you just stop?
Right.
And I think we forget how powerful the brain is, right? I mean, that's why when you have memories or, it's often a story we're telling, like sometimes we're in control of it. But then when you have repetitive thoughts or, you need that sense of those highs and, those highs and we don't even realize it, right? We don't have complete control over our brains is what I'm saying, do we, at some point?
Yeah, I feel that what happens is that the parts of the brain that are really effective, that are affected by this behavior, are those particular brain regions that are involved in decision making, in making choices, in making healthy choices versus choices that may not be so healthy. So if those brain regions then become compromised because of the neuroplasticity, because of the synaptic strengthening, because of those systems that are overriding the capacity to make healthy choices, then it becomes very difficult to reverse this, to change this, to improve this. And so, yes, I still feel like that we still are the master of our own head, but it's very, very difficult. And I think that's what's really important to realize is that we do have the capacity to recover, to change, to relearn, to, the brain continues to be plastic, and it may change to make these decisions difficult for us because of this intense, profound communication that's learned to enjoy gambling, but it's not easy. No. And I think we have to appreciate the fact that just like if you have chronic heart disease or other chronic disorders, that those organs that are involved are changed, and it's very difficult to get them healthy again. The brain is just another organ, and it's in a similar category to those kinds of situations when it comes to recovery.
But in the sense that it responds to emotions, it gets shaped by emotions, and that's wild. Right, because we think about drug addiction or alcoholism. The idea is like it's that the chemicals that are changing the brain. Whereas now I'm understanding this better, and that it's both. It's both the way you feel altered with a chemical addiction, but also your brain telling you that you need to have that altered feeling. But this is chasing after an emotion of winning, or even like the valleys of losing. There's still that like adrenaline. So it's partly, well, I'm sorry, I'm just going off. I know that there's a lot to cover here. So let me ask. So I've told Anita before that my father was addicted to gambling. He also had been a recovering alcoholic. He was addicted to smoking. And I don't know, I don't think that we were paying attention when it went from just playing card games and going to the racetracks and then, being on the boats. He used to be on the gambling boats, the floating casinos. So what are some of the signs of a gambling addiction that we maybe should have been hopefully more aware of?
Well, perhaps we could couch this in a similar way of what were the signs when you notice that, your loved one had problem with alcohol use or had problem with nicotine use. It becomes compelling. They seek it out. It becomes very, very important in their life. They need it to feel normal. And so those same kind of parameters really do translate into gambling disorders. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I think what Way Back In is doing, and Anita and I've had this conversation, is that making sure that individuals understand this, not only in their own self, then they can see these signs as well as their family members can recognize. And you can think of, if I may, an assortment of behavioral addictions that gambling is sort of associated, like shopping addiction, eating disorders, hypersexuality. There are a lot of things that become very compulsive, important. We seek them out. We feel like we have to engage in them to even feel normal. If we don't, we get very anxious. So understanding these originate in the brain.
Yeah.
It's not, the emotions don't train the brain first. The brain makes the emotions, and then the emotions have this feedback loop that reinforces these kinds of behaviors. So it's incredibly complex. And I think what's really important, though, is to realize it's biology, and that we shouldn't stigmatize this disorder any more than any other disorder that we struggle with, whether it's a mental health disorder, like clinical depression or schizophrenia, or a neurological disorder, like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease. These are all disorders of neurons in your brain, and that is what problem gambling is as well.
Thank you so much for that. We're talking to Dr. Celeste Napier, who is joining us to discuss problem gambling. Of course, we've been working with Anita Pinduir from The Way Back In, the executive director of The Way Back In. If you or someone you love is struggling with a gambling addiction, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit areyourreallywinning.com. And we're going to continue this conversation when we return on WCPT 820, KTNF 1150, and KTNF 950 and 1150 KKNW. More in a moment.
Spring into deals with fresh savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Stay Green or premium 2 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 35% off select major appliances and save $50 on every $500 you spend on select LG appliances. Shop in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/30. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details or qualifying items. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down. I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge in finding treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Learn more at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
There are 1,000 ways to say it.
Nope. Knock it off. Shut it down. Dream on. No dice. Give it a rest. Not a chance.
Or just...
All text. You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
If you're caring for someone with COPD, you probably have a lot of questions. Caregivers juggle many roles. The right resources can help. The COPD Caregivers Toolkit is a free resource that provides information about COPD to help you prepare for doctor visits, support a healthy home, and take care of yourself. Visit nhlbi.nih.gov/COPD-caregivers.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really, the conversation off the air is as good as the one on the air, although I am TMI anyway. So we've been talking to our guest, Anita Pinduir, who's the executive director of The Way Back In. We've been talking about problem gambling awareness. And if you are someone you love is struggling with a problem gambling situation, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit Are You Really Winning? And joining me in studio as well is Dr. Celeste Napier. So I have more questions because we've talked about some of the signs of problem gambling, and we've also talked about the brain and how it's reacting to that need. Are there different? We've talked to some folks. I know you and I have discussed different, traditions and different cultures and things like that. Are there gambling issues that impact individuals of different demographics differently, Doctor?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of research in this area, both epidemiologically, which is just looking at trends, this kind of thing. We need more neuroscience-related research to understand if there's sort of, populational difference in different demographics. And I think that the science is moving in a direction where we understand that culturally nuanced treatment, education, and science-based treatment, if I may say, is really, really relevant. And I do think that the Illinois Council on Problem Gambling is doing a lovely job with this because they're holding conferences that are special for special targeted demographics. I think that's really important. I think there may be two reasons for this. One may be simply that to better reach the individual, we need to understand their heritage. And they'll be more receptive to treatment. We'll probably do a better job of destigmatizing this, both in terms of how they feel about themselves as well as how their family feels about them. But I also think that there's going to be some interesting neuroscience differences as we learn more about this that's going to be helping us to even do a better job of doing culturally relevant treatments.
Amazing. I appreciate that so much. And so, when it comes to betting, I think a lot of folks, I don't even set myself a limit when I'm at someplace. I lost $20 one time and it was too much for me. I was like, I'm out. But there is that psychology of setting limits, and it must be hard for folks to stick to them. What are some ways, or what is the importance of setting limits when it comes to gambling?
You know what? I think that may be something that's more in Anita's arena as a
excellent
clinician than it is for mine as a researcher. So I'll turn it over to her.
As a clinician.
Age limits. Yes. Pardon me. Yes.
So age limits, time limits, financial limits, those are all really good. I think we do that. And, one of the things when we're doing therapy is to change a lot of the behaviors. And we know that as behaviors change, and the doctor can correct me, but as behaviors start changing, that's when kind of some of that brain starts changing. And so it's that kind of loop system, right? That closed loop system of change kind of allows for more change. So we do know that with some people, they might be able to gamble responsibly. And so they might be able to just need kind of a regimen or a structure or a system. And therefore, that's why we kind of say, like, well, you need to set some type of a limit. And you would do that with anything else, like overeating, right? We don't just eat and eat and eat. You set some type of a limit as a general society and as a general person, right? We're like, okay, we're going to eat 3 times a day. We'll space it out like morning, afternoon, night, right? Like, this is about how much you should eat. Because we need to set some type of a limit. And so the same thing applies to kind of gambling. And when we have persons who sometimes are saying, I think I just need to back off and maybe just do less, we do ask them to set time, right? When would it be appropriate? Maybe just the weekends, maybe just certain games. And then setting a limit of, right? And maybe setting a limit of money. And you learn 2 things from that. One, you give yourself some type of structure, and then you have a system of working through that structure. And it is then something that it can be done for fun versus for funds or for the ability, like, oh my God, I'm going to win $1 million, right? Like, that gambling should just be for the enjoyment. And maybe you're saying, every time I get together with my buddies, we go out, this is when we have 3 beers, and then we also gamble. and I'm going to spend $20, right? And you set those limits for yourself. But when you can't stick to them, that's when we point to the brain chemistry and then the brain behavior and say, maybe there's more of a problem. So if I set a limit for myself and I said I'm going to spend an hour at this place with my friends and I'm going to spend X amount of money, and then I couldn't stick to it, perhaps there's more that I need to look into. And then sometimes that's when we encourage, kind of that level of sobriety and a level of abstinence. And when we say, what if you just stopped for, ever, or maybe for a year, or for whatever long you choose to make that time happen.
Excellent.
And see how you feel. See what's going on for you.
I love that. And I know that you have some events coming up. I want to make sure folks know about those as well.
Yes. So with the Illinois Council on Problem Gambling, we have our conference on Thursday for the Asian American community and conference. June 5th and 6th, we have the conference in Juliet for kind of everyone. So we want to make sure that everyone's invited and that we're kind of celebrating. And I know we got out of Gambling Awareness Month, but it is, for us, it's always Gambling Awareness Month. But as we're moving into May, we want to remember Mental Health Month and making sure that we are linking, right? Because a lot of it does link together. There could be anxiety, there could be depression. And do I gamble because I'm depressed, or am I depressed because I gamble? And so we want to make sure that no matter what month it is, you pay attention to you.
Excellent. I want to thank you both so much. Dr. Celeste Napier and Anita Pinduir, it's been great talking to both of you. I have a lot more questions. I do want to clarify that something we mentioned earlier about the different types of addiction. We mentioned sexuality, not in any other, just sexuality. We talked about drugs and alcoholism, but not any type of, we used to have someone who was concerned about, they might have misheard us, but not with, no, you didn't. We didn't say, we talk, you can say sex. You can say that somebody wants to have sex a lot all the time. I remember when Michael Douglas, that was the first time I think we all kind of knew that that sex could be an addiction, right? We all kind of had it in our minds. I mean, I used to find some magazines in my dad's glove compartment and be like, what's he doing out here? And why is he doing that in the truck? But the compulsion is a compulsion, regardless of what that, no judgment on anybody for what they get involved in as well. You are fantastic. This was a great conversation. I look forward to having you both back again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, it's 1-800-GAMBLER or areyourreallywinning.com. And please check out if you and keep this tucked in your mind if it's something that pops up, in your experiences. Thank you both so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's take a break here. We're going to talk to Tom Appel when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a low temperature of 51 degrees with southeast winds at 5 to 15 miles an hour. On Thursday, sunshine with a high temperature of 63 and northeast winds at 5 to 10. Friday, showers and storms are likely with a high temperature of 64. Saturday, sunny with a high of 52. Sunday, sunshine with a high temperature of 62 degrees. Monday, showers with a high of 79. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 77.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the mid-1800s, many American women were expected to follow what history calls the cult of true womanhood, where men would go off to work and women would stay home, taking care of the house, their children, and husbands. During the Civil War, many women left their homes to join the fight. Thousands of women from the North and South volunteered to join brigades, while over 400 women disguised themselves as men to fight in the war. In the Union, 20,000 white and African American women worked as nurses, traveling from hospital to hospital, offering care to wounded soldiers, even helping to convince the government to create the United States Sanitary Commission to create a preventive, hygienic, and sanitary service for the benefit of the Army. During the Civil War, women were faced with new duties, challenging many men's minds for what should be a proper woman's place.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine, and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I wanted to make sure that we get Tom Appel in because we've got some like some Mother's Day event conversations coming up next week that coincide with our final Wednesdays we always do with Tom Appel. Car Guy Tom, Consumer Car Guy as well. Consumer Car Guide.
Consumer Guide Automotive.
That's the one. Consumer Guide Automotive.
Yeah, that's us.
And how do people sign up for that newsletter?
Consumer Guide, car stuff at consumerguide.com, which I never remember. Like the single most important thing.
I should print it out for myself so I have it. So we're not playing.
Well, make me a copy.
I'm the same way. I never know where I'm performing. By the way, Saturday at Lacuna Lofts, I'll be performing this Saturday for Envision Community Services. A lot going on.
Yeah.
Woo! Here, let me take this call from Victor and see if it dovetails with what we're going to talk about. Victor's calling from Salem. Hey, Victor, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, Patti Vasquez, a famous favorite comedian. Well, as far as I was going to talk about the tariff wars, but it really ties in with automotive and cars because Donald Trump, with his tariffs, has caused a dramatic increase in the purchase of an automobile for people who are on a tight budget. It will be almost impossible. But I've noticed that Donald Trump has backtracked on all his tariffs with China, which abundance of car parts come from, and Mexico and Canada. So I was wondering, what was the whole purpose of going through all this pain and suffering with tariffs when all we are going to do is go back to square one, in which the economy was doing really well with our trade agreements with China, Mexico, Canada, and every other country. It seems incredible that Donald Trump, I don't know who was advising him, but he got this bug in his ass to do tariffs. And it practically destroyed the entire U.S. economy and the trust and faith of all the people that we do trade with. And it seems like it was all completely futile. And now he has to backtrack and go back to the time when we did have a good economy under President Biden. Everyone was doing well. And, maybe Donald Trump has really got a few screws loose because whatever he did, that did not make any sense.
I know. I agree.
And now, don't you agree? And now he realizes that, well, we can't go any further with these tariffs.
Yeah, that's who knows? Who knows what's going to come next, Victor? I only day by day, hour by hour are we finding out. Thank you so much for calling, Victor. You be safe, okay? Thank you so much.
Take care. You take care. And keep up with good work and let's hear more about cars.
Let's hear more about cars. Well, Tom, are people feeling the prices on the, I don't know where we are with tariffs and how much has impacted people directly.
No one knows yet. And there have been interesting announcements made by companies, including Ford, including Hyundai, that they would not do anything to raise prices for a while, at least through May. That's good news. But the bad news is stuff is still going to happen. And what we got was a reprieve on some of the tariffs. They didn't go away, and they may still kick in. And there's other additional tariffs on steel and aluminum, which affect the auto industry directly or indirectly. So there is trouble brewing. The prices are going to rise, and we're seeing that the day supply of vehicles is slowly shrinking, but there are companies that are going to be massively affected. Mitsubishi, for example, imports all its vehicles. They've stopped importing vehicles. Volkswagen imports more than half their vehicles. They've stopped importing vehicles. So there will be shortages of vehicles coming soon, and prices will increase. No matter what a manufacturer does regarding prices, it doesn't affect what a dealership does. Dealers are independent businesses, and the manufacturer cannot tell them how to price a vehicle. So as the supply of vehicles shrink, there's about 77 days worth of cars, last I heard, on the ground. And if we stop importing, that number is going to shrink more quickly. Obviously, we're still building stuff in the U.S., but that only covers about half of what we need to meet regular demand. So going to be ugly. Prices are going to increase. And this year, slowly, quietly, secretly, prices have risen about 3%. The average, $3,000. The average transaction price right now on a car is about $51,000.
Oh my God!
Per Cox Automotive. So
come on.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we just started to come down post-virus. Like we saw prices go up crazy during the chip shortage after COVID, and we're getting back to those prices.
I was just trying to think of $51,000 for a new car, and this is incomprehensible to me, right? Because like when I was a kid, I remember my mom was shopping for a car in 1985. She was looking at the Novas, right? The Chevy Nova, the Honda Civic. I can't remember what else she test drove, but I feel like those cars were like around $12,000 at the time, like somewhere like maybe $12,000.
That feels like a $10, yeah, so
right?
$10,000 era, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and so her salary was more than double that at the time, like right, maybe in the 30s or whatever. Like there are people that people are not making $150,000 a year, or I mean, I'm saying like some people are just making $70,000, $75,000, $80,000, $100,000. $100,000 isn't what it was back in the 80s.
No, and you raise a fantastic point when you talk when you listen to like one of the popular financial advisors, Dave Ramsey, someone like that. These people always talk about how you shouldn't spend more than 1/3 of your annual income.
This is what I'm saying.
On a car.
Yes.
Well, that means that the average American can afford $13,000 or $14,000 for a car.
This is what I'm saying.
So who is buying?
Yes.
$50,000 cars.
People are going into debt.
And the answer is the average American can no longer afford the average new car. And it's kind of a sad situation, but new cars are now very much exclusively the realm of the wealthy.
Yeah. I mean, and there aren't going to be that many people. This is, I don't know why my brain just fried. I didn't realize it was, and I'm sure you've probably said this number to me before, but now the intensity of what's going on with the tariffs, when we have, people now being fired in massive numbers from the, people who work for the federal government or different agencies, then 501c, the nonprofits who are going to be destabilized because federal funding is going to be cut from them. I mean, so it's not just the tariffs. It's really the ripple effect. Because I saw that the cargo containers that we move products around the country, that those orders are down at the ports.
Yes, and I don't know if this is a little bit outside of my purview, but yeah, shipping containers have started to stop sailing from China.
Yeah.
We're going to feel that later. Right? We know that's happening now, but that stuff takes forever to cross the ocean, and the supply line is still packed with stuff. So how that impacts us is unclear at this point.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, let me see. We have 3 minutes before the next break. I have to be much more aware of it because of my friends in Seattle and Minneapolis, because I have to be aware. Tom, and this is what you were going to talk about as well. Do you think Tesla cars are good enough to compete with the other electric vehicles now? Musk says he is coming back and the stock is up, but I don't think their cars are really the best anymore.
What they aren't anymore, and there's been a lot of writing about this recently, they're not especially innovative anymore. When Tesla products came on the scene, they were impressive. They had great range. They were good electric vehicles. The first one, the Model S, launched way back in 2011. And it was kind of the benchmark electric vehicle for a decade. Other car makers are making cars now. The Teslas now are a little bit strange and a little bit behind the curve. They're very good cars. The Model 3 and the Model Y are reliable electric cars. If you wanted to buy one used, and if you could deal with the social stigma of doing that, they're a good deal used right now. I wouldn't recommend buying one new because you're going to get really badly burned on resale value, possibly.
Right. Holy cats. Okay. So, and by the way, my husband says he's never seen so many Teslas, but we're also on the Northwest side, and I feel like a lot of folks here who maybe lean a certain way politically scoop those up.
Yeah, I mean, demographically, green cars tend to be blue state and left leaning. Yeah, and that's,
no. I mean, I think that the Republicans are buying because this neighborhood's very conservative.
Oh,
yeah. I think they're buying the used ones that are being turned in.
A lot of conversation about whether or not right leaning consumers are going to purchase Tesla products.
Yeah, well, because of their EVs.
Yep,
because they're not.
They hate EVs, so it's. I don't understand the confusing world they live in.
I don't either. It's insane. There's a place on Northwest Highway that always has a couple of Teslas parked up, and I had never noticed them before. So I think that's the other thing. I think I'm noticing them more.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
The Model Y, the small crossover, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was the best-selling car in the world last year. So,
whoa.
Yeah, that's not going to happen again.
No, I mean, this seems like permanent damage.
It is.
To the.
It's huge brand damage, especially in Europe, where it'll never be fixed.
No.
Yeah, he swam way too close to hyper-conservative politics for Germans.
He didn't even swim. He dove in head first and was only 3 feet deep.
There's no recovery from that.
No.
Europeans have long memories.
Yeah. I know I do. I'm just saying. I'm there. We're hanging out with Tom Appel, Consumer
Guide Automotive.
I'm going to write it down. Consumer Guide Automotive. Sign up for the website, for the email.
Yeah.
You can also follow him on social media, Car Guy Tom.
Yep.
Excellent. And he brought us cookies, Lady B. I'm going to share these with you. He brought chocolate chip and butter pecan. I don't think I've ever had my dad loved butter pecan. I feel like this is my dad day. Butter pecan ice cream, but I don't think I've ever had butter pecan cookies.
I want to say I never want them, and then when I have them, I'm like, why don't I want these?
You should have them.
I should have them.
I'm going to have them later as well. More after this on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, and KTNF AM 950.
Tom Hartman.
Lori in Ocala, Florida. Hey, Lori, what's up?
Hi, Tom. First, I just want to say thank you for being here for all of us. It's really important. It's almost like having a friend there that you know you can listen to and talk to. And I've listened to you since Air America, and I really appreciate you today.
Well, thank you, Lori.
The Tom Hartman Radio Program. Weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go? I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project!
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations!
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
As farmers and ranchers, stewardship of the land comes naturally. Your work keeps our water clean, improves the soil, and enhances wildlife habitat. It also provides countless benefits, not just for you and your family, but for millions of Americans who depend on this region every day without even realizing it. Thank you for being stewards of America's prairie for all of us. Take a moment to find out how conservation pays. Visit conservationpays.org.
We got out of Washington State, and I think a week after, state went on lockdown for COVID.
So then when we transitioned to Texas, it was very much so like, what are we going to do now?
Operation Homefront has allowed our family to make something of ourselves again in the world after the military.
It's completely changed the way our life is. It took us from a hopeless situation, and now we're homeowners. We have a savings account. I'm the first one to own a home out of my siblings.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome back to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for driving it home for our car segment with car guy Tom Appel. We were talking a little bit about Teslas and how their brand is going to be going forward now that Musk says he's going to be stepping away from digging into all of our personal information. I guess the stock is rebounding a little bit today, but
which is curious. I'm surprised to learn that given how bad the financial news was yesterday, that was all baked into the price. That surprises me, but I don't know if there aren't crazy Trump loyalists or something that's buoying the stock right now because it's way overpriced.
Well, how much did it go up? I didn't even notice.
Like $5 today.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
right.
More than it should have. But the market was up too.
Yeah, the market was up. Yeah, I guess it was up 5.37, and the market in general was up 1.07.
Is it possible the damage wasn't bad enough?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. But we do know revenue is down 20%, and I think net profits were down 80%.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
Terrible quarter.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Terrible quarter for Tesla. And there's really no good news on the horizon. And the good news that Elon Musk keeps sharing is for robotics and cyber taxis. And none of it's all fantasyware. Like none of this is going to make money for the company in the near term.
Oh my God! And then these tanks. What are they called? The Cybertrucks. Yeah, the Minecraft cars.
Yeah, I mean that's a disaster, and they're hardly giving them away now. And they just added a lower price version. They lowered prices on all of them. But ultimately, the big problem for them there is they built a factory in Austin, Texas. Half of the production capacity was allocated to the Cybertruck, about 250,000 units worth, and there's no way they're going to fill that now. The demand is down across the U.S. So what they have is a factory being roughly half used. And people who don't know this about manufacturing, especially the auto industry, you need to have your factory humming. Right. It needs to be producing at least 80% capacity for it to be profitable. After that, you're just throwing money into a fire because you just have a lot of equipment, a lot of capital that's not being used.
Man, it's absolutely insane that, and I don't know if it's the news of him, as you mentioned, it might just be MAGA support. By the way, do you say MAGA at all, or do you say MAGA?
I say MAGA.
Everyone, I didn't know I said it wrong. Someone corrected, they said I make it sound elegant. MAGA. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I should be saying MAGA. MAGA. Don't you think that I have to do? I have to do this because I completely. I wanted to save it for the last segment. Let's put it that way. Not that I forgot, Lady B, that I wanted to save giving away the streaming code. Wouldn't it have been fun to see the comedian at the correspondence dinner make fun of Tesla and MAGA and MAGA? Now I can't say it the other way. I'm gonna say MAGA all the time. But they're putting John Fugelsang and all these great comedians have a great event coming up on Saturday. So we're going to take caller. Lady B's going to decide who's going to get the streaming code. Caller number 4, 773-763-9278 to get the streaming code for the not correspondence dinner. When the White House Correspondence Dinner fires comedians, it's time we take back the mic and brutally mock them in the process. Join the Political Voices Network for not the White House Correspondence Dinner pay-per-view special, Saturday, April 26th at 8 p.m. The star-studded lineup features Elaine Boozler, John Fugelsang, Stephanie Miller, JoJo from Jers, Brooklyn Dad Defiant, Frangela, WCPT's own Hal Sparks, and many others. You can watch it live and stream on demand for just $20.26 because 2026 is a good number to think about. Head over to meethook.live/not to buy your pay-per-view pass, or it's Meethook, by the way, MEET hook.live/not to buy your pay-per-view pass, or you can call right now 773-763-9278 and win a free stream code. We'll call the fourth caller at 773-763-WCPT. Contest running on WCPT at 20 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicago and Northwest Indiana area. One entry per... I almost had it.
It was good.
One entry per person, one winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking on the contest tab. So there you go. You can stream the comedy show, is all I'm saying.
I love John Fugelsang.
Oh, my God. He was on my show the other day.
Was he? I missed that. Yeah.
We're going to have him on every month for Monday School.
He's smart.
He's crazy smart.
Yeah.
He's Bible smart. He's book smart. He's funny smart. All the things.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And he was a VJ.
Oh, was he on? I don't know.
He was a VH1 VJ way back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. From humble roots, at least intellectually.
Okay. Yeah, right. Well, he's got such a great backstory too about his family and all that stuff. So I didn't realize that first of all, that Tesla bounced back, and the other thing that you mentioned the robotic taxis and the robotics the manufacturing in Austin, because his whole thing now, I think a lot of these big tech guys are going all in on AI.
Yep.
Right. So that's going to be interesting to see. Because he's got all these contracts with Starlink. He got what he wanted, right? He got rid of the investigations from the FCC against him, or whatever, all these other elements, right? I think. Yeah. So it's a lot going on.
There is, yeah, and he's thrown up a lot of dust for people to look at, but ultimately the company's in trouble.
Yikes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like the company's in trouble, so I feel bad for the people that work for the company, the people that work in the factories, because he ain't going to feel it. He's not going to feel it.
Tesla has 125,000 employees.
Oh, my God.
We don't want them to lose their jobs in the U.S.
Right.
And additionally, this is a little more selfish, they also maintain a charging network that we now need because the federal government, Trump no longer supports the charging network that they were building. So it has to come from someplace else. And Tesla made available to the public, to other people, other owners of other brand cars, their charging network. And their charging network is very good, very broad, and very reliable. We don't want to see that go away.
No.
For the betterment of the green movement. If you believe in green cars, we need the Tesla charging network.
Yeah, I just wish that this guy had not gotten involved, and I don't know what it's going to take for us to learn what they were up to when they were going behind these doors in places that none of them belong.
It is strange, and he's such a weird guy, and people want to call him a genius, but he makes really boneheaded decisions.
Yeah.
But he's made some brilliant product decisions, so it's hard to follow what he's doing. But I don't ever remember knowing the politics of a CEO of an auto company.
Right.
I could guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they are all really wealthy. But on the other hand, they never talked about him.
Right.
And the world was happier then.
I do. I remember being happier. But with that, though, as you mentioned, we could kind of guess what their politics were, and we could see, from donations and involvement and things like that. I mean, like we're learning now from, I didn't. There had been articles about billionaires, Harlan Crow and these folks that were involved in providing trips and luxury items to our Supreme Court justices. But you're right. I don't remember. We do know, like, Ford. We know that Ford, I didn't know that square dancing, we had to learn square dancing because of Ford.
I didn't know that. That doesn't surprise me. Henry Ford was crazy.
Yes.
Also powerfully racist.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He wanted basically like this, rural white American tradition to be taught. And so that's why we had square dancing in gym class. Tom, that guy.
Well, that's his fault because I had to learn square dancing.
It is your fault. A do-si-do, my friend.
I now like Henry Ford even less.
He showered that down upon you. What? Tell us about the latest podcast. What did you guys cover?
Oh, good week this week. We just had federal journalist Joel Fetter. Unfortunately, his outlet just went under, and this is just about the crushing difficulty of getting listed on Google these days. But the Car Connection, which was a very popular automotive review site, just went under. Joel talked a little bit about that. But more importantly, Joel was in New York, and we had a long conversation about something totally apolitical. The new Subaru Outback was at the auto show, the 2026 Subaru Outback, and here's the scandal. It doesn't look like a station wagon anymore.
Oh, boy.
And people are upset. It looks a little bit like a crossover, like a small, low crossover, but it doesn't look like a wagon. And the whole thing about the Outback is it used to be this outdoorsy-looking wagon. That was its charm, and people bought almost 200,000 of these a year because it had this weird wagony charm. And it seemed like only Subaru could make money on that formula, and now it's changing. So we had a long conversation about that, and if consumer demands and needs in vehicles are changing, and Subaru always seems to know what customers want. So it's hard to believe they've made a mistake.
It's funny because I think I just saw this on an episode of The Neighborhood with Cedric the Entertainer, because they spent a lot of time talking about this, and he was like taking selfies with it, and I thought how nice it looked. I kind of like it, but I'm not like a.
It doesn't look bad.
I think it's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like a station wagon.
No, that's what struck me. I was like, oh, that looks a little bit. It looked a little bit higher. It looked a little bit. Yeah.
And Subaru knows its audience, and maybe that audience is changing.
Maybe.
That vehicle's been around for 25 years. Things change.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's Tom Appel, Car Guy Tom, on all the social media. I have to take a moment because someone just reminded me of something I need to make sure, because I started the show talking about someone from my childhood, and I need to talk about someone now who, after our show, we're going to hear the last broadcast of somebody who has had an impact on my ability to be here without someone like Randy Rhodes, who for so long has been shining a light on what Americans need to be paying attention to. She's so passionate. Her race rage is my rage. I wish her the very best. I know we're going to hear from her again, but she has, I believe tonight, Lady B, do we know if tonight's Randy Rhodes' last show? I believe tonight is, I was listening to Stephanie Miller this morning, and she's been such an influence on me, an inspiration. She's a badass. She's a veteran who has been really, she walks the walk. And so I'm grateful for all the work that she has done. I wish her the very best. And I know we're all going to miss her fiery voice, the voice of a warrior and a champion, really. So thank you so much to Randy Rhodes and the incredible work you have done. And Tom comes and joins us every month and brings us tasty pastries, and I appreciate that. You don't have to do that, it's not a requirement of your visits.
I bring them to my podcast too.
Okay,
so it's a thing I do.
It's a thing. I was talking earlier about my friend who sadly, Captain David Meyer, who lost his life this morning in a fire. I was thinking about some of the things that I used to do as a kid, and I like bringing things for people too. Like, I just like, I like making people happy.
It's fun.
Yeah. It is.
And we talk about donuts on the podcast. It's like if you're not into cars, you might still enjoy the podcast. And if you're not into cars at all, skip to the third segment where we just do the quiz.
Excellent. Well, don't skip the car stuff. It's fun. You guys have great conversations, and also say hi to my friends Steve and Johnny.
I will,
because I miss them too. Just not everybody else over there. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors, Source Solar. Go to source.solar and find out if the time is right for you to put solar panels on your house or business. We also want to thank our friends at Minocqua Brewing Company. We'll be broadcasting live from their tap room on May 13th. And we talked to our friends earlier from the way back in. Thank you so much to Celeste and Anita. Bye to everybody on KKNW, KTNF, and right here on WCPT. Love you, Lady B.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind.